Hey, Chance Kornuth here. I hope you enjoy this free preview of my newest course, Bracelet Hunter. In Bracelet Hunter, we'll go hand by hand as I break down the exact strategies I used to take down my second bracelet for $325,000 in the WSOP Online High Roller. We'll include things like identifying the best ICM leverage spots, how to maintain aggression during shorthanded play, during your deep runs, adjusting to different stack sizes at the final table, and so much more. So make sure to check out the link at the end of the video for more details about Bracelet Hunter. Thanks again for checking out this video and enjoy. Standard open here. We get called in 2 spots. And so,
interesting spot for sure.
Yeah, so I think that the C-bet is like definitely the clear play here. Mm-hmm. You can check some percentage, but we block like King Jack and King 10. Mm-hmm. We have like all the King X's. It's just a clear spot for a C-bet here.
You block King 10 of spades and King Jack of spades, which is rather important because you get raised sometimes when they contain those hands. So that's an important part there too.
Yeah, I agree.
So this just wins.
So when he calls here, 3 ways. Like I think his range is like some 6-7 suiteds. He might land here with like 7s, 8s, 9s occasionally. He definitely has some King X. And then he could occasionally land here with like Ace Jack clubs, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
Just because there's a guy behind. So the range that we gave him of like 6-7 suited, 7s, 8s, and 9s, and some King X, I think that there's a lot more of those other combos, especially because like the flatting range is going to have a lot more pocket pairs than Broadway's. And so I actually went for a double barrel here. And I think that it's like very aggressive and actually a spot I very rarely take. However, I chose a size where I wouldn't be surprised if he folded King 10 diamonds here.
Yeah, it's close for sure. I think I really like this sizing because like the board is gearing up like where you can have a lot of available bluffs, and he's still rather capped.
Yeah, I have all sets. I have all 8 9s.
Right. He has some sets too, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, just we need to be bluffing something, and this is just a really good candidate to choose like a big bet size, like you mentioned. Like we block some of his King Jack of spades, like which is a very natural call hand. So like we're putting a lot of pressure even on like the King 10 of diamonds, like you said.
Yep, I agree. And we get fortunate and run into a hand that folds, probably like 9s or something like that.
Yeah, 9s is in a tough spot here for sure.
He can also have Ace 5 and Ace 6 suited. Is a couple of combos we forgot that fold the turn.
God.
So this is an interesting one. Where
is this going, Chance?
Well, I know what happens. So if you kind of look at his hand, he opens to 8K and they are 45 bigs effective. And if Bubble Tea is a competent reg, and he probably is, he's like typing in numbers, he's 3-betting in position, like, you know, he's probably competent here. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go larger with a value hand.
Yeah.
And so I actually elected to 4-bet bluff here. And I think that the 4-bet bluff is actually probably my best one of the tournament. I made a few in this tournament that are not good in my opinion. Okay. But I think that like the other thing about him being in the hijack as opposed to the button is like the hijack is kind of more... It's more necessary for the hijack to have more 3-bets because they want to box out. Yeah. They want to box out other people in the hand. And so he's going to have a lot wider 3-bet range here than, say, if he's on the button. And so it's also like a really good leverage point. So when you look at this situation, I hope I choose a size around 56,000. 1, because I can very comfortably fold to the 2 shoves. And 2, it would be 33,000 more to Bubble Tea. And, you know, it's definitely going to get him to fold his Ace-10 offs. And his, you know, small suited connectors might not want to continue either. So it's a pretty good spot. And also, like, we're risking 53,000 to win 41. It has to work like 55% of the time to break even, approximately.
Yeah, I think that's the tricky part about these like 40-ish big blind stacks, where it's like when you 3-bet, a 4-bet leverages you right away. So it's like kind of a really weird stack you don't want to over 3-bet when you're at 40 big blinds because you can very easily get leverage with a 4-bet.
Yeah, and like if he's thinking the way I am about this tournament, like his 220k stack has so much equity, like he can just start punishing. But like once we 4-bet, he's like, well, my stack still has so much equity. Like, I don't want to play a 4-bet pot.
Yeah.
I'll just fold. Even
Sorry, so he has 60 big blinds here then.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's a little different.
This guy had 45.
Yeah. My statement still applies, just not to him.
Yeah. And so again, we pick a 4-bet that worked.
So like in that spot, I probably would be like a little afraid to 4-bet, but like I wouldn't be afraid to 4-bet if I had like ace jack off. And I think that's something that I need to work on, because it's like if I had ace jack off, then I'll be like, oh, this is just like a really good candidate to 4-bet, and that'll kind of like give me like the courage to 4-bet. But I think you just recognizing the spot supersedes the candidate.
So here's something that is good about the ace wheels that's bad about the ace jacks.
Okay.
So ace jack actually blocks every single bluff combo for a 3-betting range, except for like 8-9 suited. It blocks king jack off. It blocks jack 9 suited. It blocks. Right. So you actually ace jack specifically is one of the worst possible bluff candidates.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's actually something that like when someone told me that, I think it was. We don't even say names. I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. Yeah, like I never thought of that before.
Yeah, it blocks all of his like merged 3-bets for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
He folds. We open here and steal the blinds. Good result with 4s. We open here and steal the blinds.
These are really good. This is really good though.
Yeah, that's great. We get called here by a player who's playing a lot of hands and has a big stack, but pretty confident. And also Toby Lewis. It's like probably that type of name there. I'd like to see myself bet this turn, or bet this flop rather.
So talk to me a little bit about that, because I think like I see the merits of betting, but I just don't see him folding too much, and that kind of worries me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I should be betting like 60% on this texture to really like get those like ace jacks and ace 10s and like stuff like that out of there. Like this size 5s might peel. If I bet 60% of the pot, 5s are probably going to fold. Okay. And so I definitely like to see myself bet larger here.
Okay, got it.
So the turn's 9 of spades, and I check. On the turn 9 of spades, I probably have more flushes than him actually, so I'm a little bit protected here. And also, like I have all the overpairs, flushes. I mean, I just have like such a strong range here, other than my just like auto folds. And so when he bets this turn, like I think that I should call because I am very protected with that range. So even though I'm at my bottom of my turn range, I can very comfortably fold this river. And also, like, he has a lot of bluffs. Like, he has ace 10 of clubs, ace jack with a spade. Like, There's a lot of hands that are just going to be immediately
jack 10 of clubs, here. Like all these hands.
So the one benefit of folding now is that I will remain chip leader at this table as this bubble approaches. And so I guess that's kind of the saving grace to this hero fold, if you will, that I make on the turn. But again, like, he didn't bet that large. He probably just has some floats and some other random stuff. He might even, bet with the hand I beat. He might even have 9-10 suited or 7-9 suited and just hope for a cheap river.
You also just have like some slightly better hands with a spade, like as it pertains to just playing the river. So like you're just having like queen 9 with the queen of spades, jack 9 off with the jack of spades. Like these hands, I think, in my opinion, at least function better in these like close marginal spots.
Yeah.
Like as you add more offsuit combinations to your range, I think that like this doesn't become as an egregious of a fold as it seems, because like we just have so many offsuit combos. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see you have like 10-9 with the 10 of spades. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like why not? Like,
I would not be surprised to see that in my range.
So so like that hand's significantly better than this hand in my opinion. So it's like, as we add more of those hands in our range now, I think that, at least in my opinion, I could be completely wrong. It's just like I feel like this isn't as bad of a fold.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's atrocious, but I think that it's a profitable turn continue.
Yeah, for sure. But I think like the EV share that like we're giving up is not like, oh my god, like you're
we're not making infinite by calling there for sure. Right. So under the gun opens here, we have king 4 suited in the small blind and elect to call. I think this is really close. Definitely not printing and definitely not losing that much, but it's probably not making that much either.
Yeah.
I don't mind folding here, but I also think it's okay to call. So this board is actually really good for my range.
Yeah.
When he checks back the flop, his range is probably like 8s and 9s and 7s, 10x, ace highs, stuff like that.
So are you going to stab here, or are you going to go for a double delay?
So I decided to bluff the river here.
Yeah.
I think that a turn bluff is completely fine, but I think that you can get the same thing accomplished on the river.
Yeah.
And also, like, now he doesn't really have a 10 anymore. So he's going to have a lot more river folds than turn folds.
Yeah.
And so, like, I chose a size that... I ended up choosing a really small size, yeah. So I chose, like, third putt here. And so I chose a size that, like, I could even have 5-6 suited, ace-5, 6-7s, 8s, 9s, or 10x.
Right.
So I wasn't trying to rep, like, that much at all. And also, like, my perceived small blind range is basically just all of this board.
Right.
Like, has no bluffs in it.
And I think I think that's what makes this river bluff more profitable than if you bet the turn. So because, like, if you bet the turn now, so effectively when you land on this river, the perception is that you would have bet king queen, bet 8-9, bet queen 9 suited. So, like, now he's discounting more and more bluffs on the river, which now is, like, leaning you more towards just having, like, some, like, showdown value that is, like, good enough to bet.
Yep, I agree. I do think it's a lot harder for him to put me on a bluff. And fortunately it works. Got him. A standard raise, big blind defends. And this is a board I think we can just bet 22% with and be done with the hand. I decided to get a little tricky and maybe rep kings and queens and other stuff like that. But I think that this should definitely be a bet. And then once he checks the turn, I bet super small. One, to maybe get value from like a queen high or something like that. Maybe even jack high calls sometimes. And also, like, if he has a 10, he could check raise. If he has an ace, he can check raise. But, like, I really am repping a 10 fairly credibly, so I don't really expect to get bluffed, especially, like, approaching the money like this. So, but that being said, I still think a flop bet has a lot more clarity and should bet there.
Okay.
So I think this opens standard at this juncture as we approach the money, but it's also a standard fold to the 3-bet.
Yeah. Can't continue there.
We're going to keep the pedal rolling as we approach the money and just open probably everything we can. We get shoved down here and it's a pretty easy fold. Something that stood out to me in this hand was he jammed 21 big blinds over my open in his calling range. And this guy calls with ace-10, which I thought was really bad.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so I think that was like a really big mistake by him and a very losing call, especially versus a player this tight.
Right, I think he's just like a little bit of leveling himself. Well, I think... Okay.
It looks like he's just super wide and not really thinking.
Yeah, so I think that what's happening is you're probably opening a lot of hands. He thinks that this person is seeing that you're opening a lot of hands, so he's wide, which he like kind of is, like ace-10 off, like... but this is probably like the worst hand he has.
Yeah, know? I think so too.
So it's like, so he's just like, oh, he sees what I see, so like I'm gonna call, which is like kind of a bad train of thought, right?
Yeah, for sure.
On your end, I think like what I tell myself like in these spots is like, because like the last two hands, like you got 3-bet, then you got shoved on or whatever. It's like, that doesn't matter, right? It's like you should still keep opening. Like it doesn't matter.
They still have to wake up with something to go in with.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Their ranges are still very thin on the
But
middle.
I think people like emotionally feel like, oh man, like the opens are not working. I'm leaking chips. Like I had like a 5 or 6 extra blinds. You just text your friend that you had 90 blinds, now you have 82 or whatever. It's like, whatever it is that like gets you like emotionally like upset about the situation. I think it's like really important, like right now that you're on, like you're locked in. It's like, okay, like I need to open, period.
Yeah. And that's like the juncture that I'm in on the bubble with this stack is like, all right, I'm just going to open everything and see how many pots I can take down. All right, so king 4 suited, approaching the money. Probably going to be raising this. And the big blind rips it, so we have a very easy fold. This player covers us. We could 3-bet. However, I think that our hand's just going to be better as a call. Like stack preservation approaching the bubble, when you have the ability to like play a lot of hands in the bubble, is really important. So I definitely think this is going to play much better as a flat.
Is there an argument for like releasing your hand?
I mean, I could think of one, but I wouldn't ever. I mean, I just always call.
Yeah.
He see bets quite large on this board, which definitely puts hands like this to the test. Like if he bets third pot, this is like an auto continue. But when he bets this size, it's kind of an auto fold.
Okay. If you had like ace of club, do you still fold?
I would. Some people wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm very elastic on this board texture. With my ace size.
Okay. This is getting annoying, right? Because now he's
got a lot more chips than us. Yeah.
Right.
So unfortunately, we're gonna have to start tightening up our opening range, and we're not able to pound the bubble anymore. So it's a pretty simple adjustment, and rather unfortunate because he's probably in first place, and I'm probably in like third.
Right.
So it's really unfortunate that when you are on a bubble in this situation, to not be able to be the bubble beater or whatever you want to call it. But it's just a standard adjustment.
The bubble boss.
Bubble boss. I like it. Go shove. I mean, we're getting the right price to call here, even though we don't love it. But someone reshoves and it makes our decision really easy. And someone else reshoves too. Let's see what they got. Good hands.
What do you think about jacks there?
Let's go back.
Like, assuming we are nearing the bubble here.
Probably a fold.
Yeah, that's kind of the instincts I had there.
Yeah, I think it's a fold.
So, like, in situations like this, like nearing the bubble, I effectively call here with like some pretty evil intentions. Like I am already thinking like I'm going to play really aggressive posts. Like I'm going to have leads. I'm going to have check raises. I'm going to have like, things that are going to make it hard for you to show down.
Yeah.
Is that kind of how you're approaching spots like this when you see like this hand class versus this stack size on the bubble?
Yeah, like I see this flop and immediately it's like, oh, check raise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely what you want to do because they just don't have as many continues, so you're just going to have more bluffs. He bets about third here. And we're going to go for a small check raise. Like we're just targeting his unpaired, non-hard stuff. So unfortunately it doesn't work and we shut down, but I think that the line is good.
Yeah.
We got something. So this is an interesting spot. We could just elect to 3-bet and get it in because it's a pretty tight opponent. However, on the bubble, I wouldn't be surprised if he still has some raise folds. But that being said, like because it's me and then low BP is here, I actually think that we can probably just get this in. Like I'd be really, and like our image is awful. I would expect him just to be getting in always. So I think that I should just 3-bet this and get this in.
I think sometimes you get cold 4-bet too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And something to consider is like there's no 3-bet shove stacks.
Yeah.
Which makes it a worse just call. So I definitely would like to see myself 3-bet this. I think he probably has a hand he can get all in with. So once we do call, the flop's going to be a pretty standard call.
Yeah, especially containing ace of club in your hand.
And when he checks here, like I think he has like a ton of check folds. Maybe a hand like queen jack or ace queen or something like that. Or even queens or jacks like I'm only going to get one more street from.
Yeah.
So I decided to check back.
That'd be tricky.
And he bets pretty big on the river, and I mean, I kind of just think he has like a thin value bet with maybe queens or jacks or like a king-queen suited type hand. So I like to shove and try to get all the value. And fortunately, he has ace-king. And so it just kind of proves the point that we said before is like when someone's opening on the bubble and they're probably fairly nutted, don't be afraid to get into like your strong combos.
And just like formation-wise here, he's gonna have good hands. Like when Lobby's the button here, it's just very likely that he's not gonna be opening into that button without it.
I agree.
And like some people are not even thinking about that, but like just on the bubble, I think more people are aware of where the big stack is.
Yep, I agree. All right, so we got a new table. We're in the money now, and Girth Brooks opens the hijack. And we're in an interesting spot here. Like, I don't think we can really profitably call this, especially versus like shallow stack depth. It's going to be too hard to really play around. And so this becomes like one of the best hands we have to fold. And whenever you have a situation with one of the best hands you have to fold, it actually becomes a pretty good bluff candidate. And so having a king here blocks his pocket kings and his ace-king combos. And so I actually elected to go for a bluff. So let's look at the math here for a second. I make it 41. So that's 33K more to win 35. So this has to work less than half the time to break even, and he has to put in 20% of his stack to continue. And so like even if he has like ace jack off here, like I would expect him to fold.
That's tough.
Even if he has pocket sixes here, I would expect him to fold. And so like there's just, you know, queen jack, like ace seven suited, like just so many combos of hands that are going to end up folding here. And when people get to this sub 18 blinds, it allows you to have some really cool leverage spots, and this is one of them.
Yeah, I like those a lot. I think I would like default call here like before like too often, or even now, like just like sometimes you just like get lazy and you're just like, okay, like I cannot play this person, like I'm just gonna flick into 8K, it doesn't cost me anything.
Yeah,
you know?
I definitely overcalled there in the past and started bluffing it more often. So now that we're in the money, we expect stacks to start flying a little bit more. Berkey jams, and we have a pretty mandatory call here. We pick it up. What do you think our calling range should be here?
How many blinds was this? Was 20 blinds?
19.
19 blinds. Probably like ace 10 suited. Yeah, around that.
Ace 10 suited, ace jack off.
Yeah.
What about king queen suited?
I've moved away from that. Just because I think people just have like ace deuce. Like
yeah,
they'll have like ace deuce suited like more than they should, or like appropriately, or whatever.
What's the worst pair you call?
Sevens. Yeah.
That's exactly where I had the range as well.
Yeah.
So fortunately we win the all-in here versus queen jack. Very soon after, we have ace queen again, and shorty shoves on us, and we beat ace jack. So a couple good turns of events there.
Big events, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are big pots.
Yeah.
I mean, we're like way above average now, especially if you look at the stacks around us. Like that was a pretty long bubble.
Yeah. So we can probably assume that Flow Show is someone we know. And
might just be Jeff Gross.
That's why I thought it was. So like,
and he hasn't played a hand yet.
Right,
so it
so
could
it matches
be,
the criteria.
It could be him, yeah.
But yeah, that's probably all I see in terms of like naming people.
So this is an interesting spot. We have the option to call, fold, or 3-bet. I think all are very reasonable here.
Yeah, I think I would lean towards call.
Me too.
Damn it.
And now that this happens, like, I mean, Jay West could actually be nutted. Sober Swede seems incredibly nutted with this sizing.
Right.
I mean, I think this is a pretty clear fold.
Yeah.
Not to mention, like, if Jay West does have an implied hand, it probably dominates us.
Yeah.
So it makes it even more of a fold.
Okay, he probably just has like kings.
He could. I mean, I kind of expect him to have like tens and doesn't know how to play them.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think kings are more likely to shove pre than shove here.
Okay.
But it's hard to say. I could see him.
Does this player fold?
Yeah.
Okay. So. Okay.
So
yeah. Tens make sense too.
Yeah. We get ace queen and a 23 big blind jam.
And a call.
From someone who has Swede in their name, we're not going to be folding.
But he's sober, though.
And we get lucky and win a flip there on the river to get up over a milli.
This is the tournament of ace queen.
Yeah, ace queen is on fire today. So we get 3-bet here by Jay West, who has a pretty high 3-bet. So his 3-bet at this juncture was...
This sizing's also...
So that's going off the screen, so I'll just tell you guys. 2 of 19. So this means 3 of 20, which is 15%. So his sizing is also pretty mediocre. So consider this. When he makes this sizing, it makes it incredibly polar, which means either nutted or not. Not very merged typically.
Do you think that's true?
Yeah, because like he made it a size where he can fold to Jenny Fucks. And like the fact that he's conscious of wanting Jenny Fucks to be either able to shove light or him able to fold is a polar thing.
I see. That makes a lot of sense now.
And so when it folds back to me, like I think that if I had like king queen suited, I'd probably just call. But I think that like King 10 suited becomes a pretty good 4-bet bluff combo.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, it unblocks all of his ace-x suiteds, his queen jacks, ace-jack and ace-queen will probably fold to a 4-bet. And so I chose a sizing of 141. And if he shoves, like, yes, we kind of are getting the right price because there'd be 570 out there, and we have to call 263. And so we're definitely getting like probably the right price, but that's from a pure chip EV perspective.
Right.
From a tournament EV perspective, I would have actually folded to a shove because I think those 260,000 chips are better used in my stack to leverage everyone else still.
I see. Yeah.
So fortunately he folds, but I think one of the biggest the biggest points here is like you're not necessarily committed just because it's plus chip EV to call.
Right.
It's going to be a standard open here.
I like this open. I think this is like underrated. Like you're kind of not like I kind of want you to explain why you're opening here.
Yeah, I have a lot of good reasons actually. So these three guys on my right, or my left in the tournament, they have a stack size that is kind of difficult. Like they can't shove, they can 3-bet bluff, but I just showed that I 4-bet.
Right.
So like they're gonna have a lot less 3-bet bluffs, and then these guys that are over 20 big blinds aren't gonna shove as much. So if these guys had like both of them had 18 big blinds, I might not necessarily open this because then they'd be shoving wider.
Yeah.
So it's just a really good stack size point. Unfortunately, that's how the hand ends.
Guys, it's great, and then you get shoved on.
It's a really good spot. It didn't work though.
Okay,
this is really cool when you remember this one. All right. So under the gun opens, playing very tight ranges. Under the gun 1 calls, who should have a very tight range here as well. And then Jay West calls, or I call, and then Jay West calls, who should have a very wide range. So very tight, probably straightforward player based on these stats. Very tight range, very wide range.
Yeah.
So this board looks like, hey, like we can never win this hand, right? Well, Jenny Fucks checks. And like even though from a GTO solver point of view, Jenny Fucks should be checking a lot of their like King X and aces and like, some very strong hands. But I don't necessarily think Jenny is doing what they should do.
Right.
I think Jenny is playing their hands like, oh shoot, I have ace queen or queens or jacks or tens and I don't know what to do, so I check. It's 4 ways.
Yeah.
Like I think that's way more likely than them playing the correct GTO ranges at this point.
Right.
Greenheart, like when Greenheart checks here, I would expect Greenheart to bet all of his continues because it doesn't necessarily look like I'll bet. And if he does have like a lock or a king, like he's just going to bet to clean up his equity, to clean up his equity for value, etc.
We expect king queen suited to be betting here like super high percentage of the time.
So I expect Greenheart and Jenny to be folding a really high percentage of the time. So that leaves us with Jay West, who actually just has a lot of hands from the big blind. And so I decided to go for a little stab here. I bet just a hair under 40%, right around 38 it looks like. If I bet 38% of the time, it actually only has to work 27.5% of the time to break even. And here's how you do that math. You take 0.38, the percentage of the pot you bet, divided by the quantity of 1, because there's 1 pot, plus the 0.38. So it comes 0.38 divided by 1.38, which equals 27.5%. So like I would expect this to work 35 to 50% of the time, depending on if my evaluation of the ranges are correct.
And that's almost, is that assuming you just have 0 equity too?
That's
call,
assuming
right?
the threes, the threes going to be live too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's another really good aspect of it. And fortunately, we get the best result. Well, other than getting called and turning it 3.
The 3 of diamonds turned card.
Ooh, okay, that's the best result. We defend call. Here.
So if he bet, you would check raise?
Yeah, I would just check raise, get this in. Hopefully he has a bet fold. Turns a deuce, and like now we're just targeting ace high, so we're going to bet, it looks like 41% here. I think this is a really good size. You don't really have to bet larger to fold ace high. If this opponent checked back 9s or 10s or ace 8 or something like that, they're just going to call anyway, and then we can kind of put them to the test on the river or decide whether to check or not. And so just bet a size that folds ace high, sets up the SPR you want on the river, and go from there.
It's good to get all these folds.
It's also good to just have really easy calls when people shove.
Yeah. So is this a spot where you shove over call? Because we don't really have a call fold range given the stack size of King Fortune.
I believe you're right. I do think I shove for that exact reason.
Yeah.
Good call. Good shove.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And let's see what our buddy here has. Also a correct shove. Now that our opponents are starting to have a lot shallower stack sizes, I do like the min.
Mm-hmm. So you're just effectively exploiting the sizing based on your hand here, which is fine.
Yep. My hand now profits with more folds.
Yep.
They don't need to, like, at this point I'm unbalancing completely still.
It's fine. I like it.
And a standard fold. But that's not going to discourage us. So now there's more shove stacks in the blinds. As you guys probably noticed, like, I've been choosing to put 400 on the end, so it's just effectively min here.
Yeah. I like this open. I like the C bet because this board favors our range. Having a 6 is actually decently okay because it kind of blocks a little bit of his, like, continues, just like 6-5, 6-8.
6-7?
Yeah, 6-7. So, like, it's a good hand to C bet.
Yep, and a good size. Like, you don't have to bet more than 30% here, 32%. Like, the solvers say like 33 here, which you'll pretty much see everyone doing these days. It's just when you want to deviate based on stack size and board texture that people are still figuring out. And he folds.
Good.
And so I believe these are the final two tables now. People are really tightening up. And also, like, you also notice, like, I even remember at the other table, there's one other guy or two other guys with a ton of chips, and then everyone's either, like, medium or really short. And so I just decided, the pay jumps were relevant to people and just to open everything.
Yeah, especially online, like, there's probably, like, a fair amount of satellite winners here that are, this counts,
So this is an interesting decision to talk about. On the flop, I decided to go with a delay. I can rep jacks, I can rep queen jack, but more importantly, my air perceivably bets the flop. And so this is a cool situation where going for a delay, like, if he has a king, he's just going to bet the turn and the hand's over, who cares? But if he has a 9, he might check call the turn and check fold the river. Right. So it actually allows us to win when he has the bottom of his flop calling range, and lose 0 when he has the top of his flop range.
Right, and I think, like, to add to that, like, for me, when you taught me, like, the delay and the double delay, the thing that taught me is, like, when we bet the flop and get called, we don't know if they're at the top or at the bottom, but either way, we're frozen.
Yeah.
Right? When we check and then they check again, now we know that they're leaning towards the bottom. It makes our bluff a lot more effective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said. And so we just bet a size that we'd probably bet with the queen, and this is going to be fairly balanced here at this 45% size here. Mm-hmm. And we get the fold.
That's what I just...
next hand, queen deuce of diamonds. Standard open for how we're playing, especially in this final table bubble that's approaching. And we get shoved on and the hand ends. And actually, let's talk about that for just a second.
Okay.
So we're risking 28-4 to win 30.8. So it has to work less than half the time to break even. And as you guys have seen, like, they have to pick up a hand to shove on us with. And so, having big card equity that reduces their shoving frequency is pretty much all you need to go for steals.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't have to work every time. Just less than, like, if you break half the time, you're turning a profit.
Yeah, that's not even counting your just hand equity.
When they call. So the button raises to 2.5x here. And we decided to call since it's versus the button. I'd probably fold versus most spots. And this is actually the final two tables now, I remember.
Okay.
So this is a board where, like, I think that if he c-bets, he's going to be getting it in with a pretty high frequency. And so I would probably just, like, shove or check raise big. Like, if he bet 50, I'd probably just shove. If he bet 40, I'd probably just make it 150.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever like call and then wait to see if like the turn doesn't like is a disaster card for your hand?
No, because I don't want to lose value from his like ace eight or pocket nines or like
Okay.
things that are a disaster turn for his hand.
I see.
Like I'm more concerned with the scare cards than that.
Right, like killing action.
Yeah, action killers. So this goes check check. So now it turns a jack. So if he has ace high, he's dead.
Yeah.
If he has a jack, he might just get it in. So like a
That's
jack's always betting. So I think this is a really clear spot to go for a check raise again. And he bets 50,000. If he has ace jack, king jack, queen jack, jack 10 here, and I shove, I would not be surprised to see him call.
Yeah.
Like I'm just so draw heavy. Like there's not too many two pairs, but there's all these like queen 7 of diamonds, 5 6 of diamonds, ace 5 of clubs. Like there's just so many draws in my range here. And so in order to balance those, I think it's best to be shoving here and just making it with a very high frequency in which you stack a jack.
Yeah, I like this. Yeah.
So unfortunately, he does not have a jack, and I remember him snap folding.
And you think that is better than like betting turn for like 80% pot or something?
Yeah, because if he has ace queen, he's just dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so you give him a chance to catch up with his dead hands. The only like downside is like if he checked to hands like 5s or 7s or 6-7 or ace 7, then he has a little bit of equity. But I think that's more than offset by the times when he has like ace king or ace queen and hits.
Okay.
Like if the river's an ace, I'm check shoving. If the river's a king, I'm check shoving. You know, there's just I'm going to take the same line as I did on my turn for the same reasons.
Yeah.
Standard open at this juncture. So Hope Lep is actually Juha Helpy, I believe, who I didn't realize at the time. But I could be wrong about who that is. It was someone who was competing last year with Deep for Player of the Year. So this is an interesting spot. Under the Gun, who has a very tight range, opens. Under the Gun 1, who has a very strong range, calls.
Yeah.
We already talked enough about the Under the Gun calling ranges versus Under the Gun. Then Hope Lep squeezes here to, probably about the correct size. I wouldn't mind him going a hair larger, but I think it's a good size in general.
Yeah.
And so this is a really interesting situation because I'm in first and he's in second, and we're both in first and second by a mile.
In the overall tournament.
In the overall tournament with 16, 18 left, somewhere in there.
Right.
16, 17 left it looks like. And so in this scenario, I elected to 4-bet, and we'll just play the hand out and then we'll go back and talk about it.
Yeah.
So I elected to 4-bet, and it folds back to him, and he clicks it to what just looks like aces.
Yeah.
I decide I'm not in the mood to fold today, which has been the ongoing theme. Thanks again for checking out the free preview of Bracelet Hunter. I hope you learned a few things about punishing the bubble that you can use in your next deep run. If you liked this video, you should definitely check out the full course, where I take you through, hand by hand, the exact strategies I use to achieve victory. In Bracelet Hunter, we cover identifying the best ICM leverage spots, how to maintain aggression shorthanded during your deep runs, adjusting to different stack sizes at the final table, and so much more. So click the link below to begin your journey towards winning your own WSOP bracelet.